Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us.
Hi, everyone. It's Wednesday night. Welcome to another episode of the Bo and Joe Show. I'm here. It's just the original crew tonight, just Bo and Joe. How's it going, Bodine? How's your week been?
The week was great. Is it cold where you are?
It is.
It's freezing here.
Temperature-wise, no, but supposedly it's at 50, but the wind chill feels like it's pretty chilly. Tomorrow it's only going to be, I heard the bus stop, they said that for when the kids are at the bus stop tomorrow, it's going to be in the 20s. So it's definitely cold.
Gotcha.
It's not spring weather.
Did we send our notification out for our audience yet? Crispy bacon?
No, I do that. Not yet.
Okay.
Why do you ask?
Because that's how one of my family members knows when the show is rolling.
All right, so I am working on that right now as we speak.
We're working on that right now.
As we speak. So we have a lot to talk about. You want to talk about the USFL, of course, but George is going to be joining us in about 15 minutes to get going on that. So
yeah, we'll wait for George for that.
Yeah, I haven't really delved much into that, but I would like to talk about. I'm very interested to hear your opinion on Ben Simmons and the whole controversy surrounding him.
Oh my goodness. Oh, well, do you remember how the season started with the Brooklyn Nets?
I do.
With the Kyrie Irving issue, which was part of the ongoing story with Aaron Rodgers not getting a shot.
I do.
And we said that was going to be a problem. So in other words, this season was doomed from the start because you can't have distractions. Everyone has to be focused on the season, right? And in baseball, which I don't understand, I'm not a baseball wonk, right? I'm not a baseball guru, but I would think that this is what would be called an unforced error, right? It's something they brought upon themselves within their own team. Distractions are obviously going to happen that you can't control during the season. It's a long season, right? Anything can happen. But when you are the cause of a distraction, that tends to linger longer. And it's the perfect example. We've seen this movie before, right? Aaron Rodgers was the perfect example. It happened right in the beginning of the season. Then the issue was discovered in the middle of the season. This happened with Brooklyn in the beginning of the season. Because it's in New York, their rules a little bit different than everybody else's rules, right? And so, I might have said it. They were doomed from the start. And so then you throw in the mix of a major trade happening with Ben Simmons and the Beard, right? That trade with Philly and Brooklyn. And Ben Simmons actually didn't play 1 minute of basketball this year.
Well, now the other teams are saying teams that had considered him don't even want him now because they said that they want to see him on the court before they take him. So, I mean, he's certainly damaged goods. I mean, it's unfortunate in some respects if he really is suffering health issues. He said his back, his mental health, and, we're big advocates for mental health, but I don't know. It's hard to justify someone being paid for a season when they made no contribution. And so, at least from the business perspective, so I certainly understand that. It's a tough one for sure.
It's like trading for a backup quarterback that you hadn't seen on film to see if he can play. Sure, you can watch film that they may film during practice, but we all know practice is not the same as in game. So why would you trade for a backup quarterback that you have no game film on? You wouldn't do it. Not at all. And you can't resort back for a 5-year backup quarterback. You can't resort back to his college days, which would have been 5 years prior. You can't do that. The game, no, right? He might have been a good or great quarterback in college, but that doesn't mean he can play in the pros. So, hey, why as a general manager would you risk your career on a player that you hadn't seen play who has some issues, documented issues, meaning he didn't want to play for the team that he just recently played for in the playoffs. There was an issue. Brooklyn trades for him, but he doesn't play for Brooklyn. That means he didn't play for 2 teams.
Yeah, it's tough. So I don't know. I think it'll be really interesting to see what comes out. Andy's commenting Simmons was an issue end of last year in the playoffs too. Dumb trade for Brooklyn. I certainly think it certainly is indicative of that at this point. So I have to agree with you, Andy, certainly. But I don't know. I don't know how they're going to rectify this because I don't think they're going to be able to get rid of him, right? I mean, I don't know what they do.
Well, put it this way. They got swept. That's bad. Yeah. I mean, we realize Boston played as a team. We talk about this all the time. It's all about the team. It's really not. I mean, in the NBA, it's about your stars. But if your team plays well as a team and you have 2 or 3 players that play really well, but they're not necessarily considered stars, it just proves that a team can beat a team with 2 stars because Kyrie is a star. He's won a championship. KD's won a They both have won, I think, at least 2 championships. And none of the starters on Boston have won a championship. And they swept Brooklyn. So they got some problems in Brooklyn. What are they going to do about it? I have no idea. But that's bad. That's bad. Yeah. To get swept is bad.
So San's here as well. Hi, San. We haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. Hey, we missed you. Andy's saying.
Well, tell San to call her father to help him out to get on the show.
Sandy said, teams beat me all day. Teamwork over talent. Agreed, Bo. Yeah, absolutely.
Andy knows. Andy knows. I mean, come on. It's just that simple. We're not reinventing the wheel here. It's all about team. You can't have distractions. It's all about chemistry, right? And if you don't have chemistry and someone wants to be, as Charles Barkley would say, the knucklehead, then you're going to have problems. So, they got swept. What do they say on the TNT show? Let's give them credit with Shaq and Ernie Johnson and the Jet and Charles. Brooklyn has gone fishing. They are officially on vacation.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
And then I know we're not, you're not a big baseball person, but did you see the story coming out of the MLB this week as well, where they're saying pitchers are blaming bad baseballs on the fact that players are getting hit and what you think of that? It really is a controversy. It's a controversy because, they were talking about the speed of the pitches that players have, like 0.3 seconds or something like that, 3 seconds to get out of the way. And unfortunately they can't. And they could sustain some serious injuries, but it said Mets pitchers hit 2 batters. But they're saying five of those hits looked intentional. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that it is the quality of the baseballs, or I don't know what's changed?
If well, who touches the ball more? Baseball is equal to or in the same space as football. Who touches the ball the most? The quarterback in football and the pitcher in baseball.
True.
They would know. They would know if something's wrong with the rock, right? That's what we call it, the rock. And if a pitcher says something's wrong with the baseball, and I don't just say one pitcher, all of the pitchers collectively are saying something's wrong with the baseball, they would know, right? It's not some conspiracy. They would know. And again, I'm not a baseball person, but I think baseball tends to mess around with baseballs every year or every other year or something like that. They do something different.
Well, that's what Andy's saying. He said they keep changing the ball in the MLB. It's crazy. Leave it alone. They're also saying that the balls are also exacerbated. The inconsistency is exacerbated by the differences in climate. I read that as well. And Tim is saying hi Tim, they actually reconstruct the ball so pitchers can have more grip. MLB is at a low on home runs this season. The balls are made in the Caribbean. So I don't know. When you think about it, I mean, we've heard all around the world in large part because of COVID and, of course, the situation in Russia. I mean, supplies for numerous products are in short demand. So maybe they have changed the consistency and quality of the balls based on the ability to get the materials you need to make them. I mean, that's one perspective.
Sure. But the bottom line is if the pitchers are saying something's wrong with the balls and they're hitting batters in the face and in the head and in their shoulders, which is a no-no, we got to talk about safety. Somebody's going to get hurt. And I mean, seriously hurt. I think if I understand this correctly, more batters, what has it been, 2 weeks of baseball, the baseball season?
Well, no, yeah, probably a little bit longer than 2 weeks. I say almost 3 weeks, but
more batters have been hit in these past 3 weeks than any other 3-week period in a long time. So something's wrong.
Yeah,
right. Something's wrong. So I'm gonna side with the pitchers. If the pitchers are saying they're losing control of the pitch of pitching the ball because it's different, well, we got to believe them. They don't want to purposely hit guys in the head. Come on.
Well, Justin's disagreeing. He's saying pictures are terrible. Hi, Justin. I don't know.
Thanks, Justin. We haven't heard from Justin in a while. What's up, brother? How you doing?
So, and he's saying the Mets brawl was awesome. I didn't see the brawl. I may have to look that up.
Oh yeah. Well, what happens is if you think, like you said, you didn't think some of those pitches were because of the ball. You think it was because it was intentional. Well, when you throw at someone's head, you got guys coming out of the bullpen, coming out of the dugout. It can get bad because you can seriously get hurt. Getting hit in the head with a 90 to 100 mile an hour thrown baseball.
Well, Tim's bringing up a good point. He's saying, would you rather have a pitcher have more control or a batter hitting the over 100 mile per hour ball towards the pitcher? But that happened this week as well. Did you see that the pitcher was hit in the head with a hit, a line drive to the head, and it really, he sunk right down. I forget what team it was. But baseball.
That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen as much though, Joe.
No. But I agree. I'm just saying that's another thing that happened this week that, about the seriousness and the injuries that can occur in baseball. I mean, the ball's being thrown very hard and when it's hit very hard as well.
Absolutely. So they have to do, if they don't do something about this, they're going to end up where the NFL was, 10 years ago about safety, and concussions and so forth. Baseball is going to have to do a better job of trying to figure out how to keep the players safe. Because if they don't, it's going to be a problem. And people want to come to the ballpark to see baseball. They want to see a game. They don't want to see guys get hit. They don't want to see a pitcher get hit as well. Let's try to make the game safe. Remember, it took them forever to figure out to put up nets so fans wouldn't get hit with swinging, thrown, bats flying out of their hand and baseballs, fouling into the stands. They just gotta do it. They just gotta do it.
That's actually still a big controversy that not all of the stadiums have netting, and they're saying that fans are getting hurt, and they don't. I interviewed somebody last year who was a big advocate for that, and he said that fans get hurt on average once a game. Somebody gets hurt. He indicated, and he's really advocating for a global change across the MLB in regard to netting being put in. And I do think that makes sense. Why would we be putting fans at risk unnecessarily? So.
Well, put it this way. I bet you there are some fans out there that say, no, we don't want netting. We want to see the game without interference. But listen, you have to protect people, right? People, right? It's just like players. You have to protect the players from themselves. In this case, you got to protect the fans from themselves. So what, you're a little bit inconvenienced if you're that close to the home plate in the diamond area, right?
Agreed.
Fans out in the outfield and where home runs are hit and long balls are hit, they don't need nets. I'm talking about that what is that first base to third base area, which includes home plate, right?
Yes.
Come on, protect the fans, man. Let's just protect them.
Justin is saying, did you see the Yankees where the Yankee fans were throwing stuff at a baseball player on the field? Yeah, I thought that was horrible, totally inappropriate.
You can't have that.
No, bad look for New York for sure.
Bad look for New York, and hopefully, and you know what's funny? It will still never outlive what Philadelphia did 50 years ago with Santa Claus or 60 years ago with Santa Claus. You'll always hear about the fans throwing snowballs at Santa Claus. And that's a shame, because all they did was throw snowballs. They didn't throw beer cans. They didn't throw anything but snowballs. But hey, listen, it's just bad. You can't have it.
You can't mess with Santa. I see George has joined us. I'm going to bring him onto the stream. Hey, George, how are you?
Good evening. How are you all?
We're doing well.
George.
I was going to say, you just happened to be talking about Cleveland. Cleveland, beer bottles, I don't know how that keeps coming back around in circles, football now into baseball. It's like Cleveland just can't seem to get away from that. Amen.
Well, I think it's younger fans who get an opportunity to go to a game, have some adult beverages, and they lose their mind. Because I like to think older fans, right? Older, 40 and up, have seen it before and know not to do it. So I like to think the fans that are doing it for the first time are probably first time, second time, fairly new fans, and they get good seats. They're excited to have good seats, right? They're with their buddies, right? It's guys game out, and they're drinking too many adult beverages, and they lose their mind.
Yep.
So we have Mr. Sanders is here. Hi, Mr. Sanders. It's good to see you. We're happy to that you made it on. Frank is saying,
Stan helped him out.
Tim is saying, thank you both for saying I'm young. So I guess that was Tim at Yankee Stadium. Well, word is he's coming to the East Coast, so we better keep him out of New York City. So Frank is asking. Frank is here. Hi, Frank. It's good to see you. Let me take Tim off. Put Frank up. Frank is saying, so the fans that threw the things at the Cleveland Guardians, what is the final outcome? What are the Yankees going to do about it? I haven't heard. I'll have to let me look at it. Let me see if I can find something.
Well, I like to think what's going to happen is, with all the TV cameras in stadiums And
they go back and they review the video and see where the people are seated, and they
facial
literally
recognition.
will nail it down by
Yep.
the seats.
Yep,
and
and they
know
will
who
revoke the
bought
seats.
who
Yep.
has those seats.
Yep. So they either the fan who has the season tickets will say, will dime out the person they sold the tickets to or gave the tickets to, or it's part of their crew and they're going to lose their seats. So something's going to happen.
I mean,
you can't have
even
it.
if somebody bought
I
it
doubt
with their credit card, even they'll track it down.
I doubt those are season tickets where they were located. I'm thinking they're not season tickets. They probably just were maybe, but
don't be so. Usually, the first 2 rows of the outfield, and especially because it's so early in the season, I wouldn't be surprised because even here in Cleveland, you can't get into those first 2 rows.
Yeah, those are good rows to catch home runs. So those seats are probably season tickets.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they're saying.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So the Yankees they said they are going to increase security.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't say anything about what they're going to do to those fans. So we'll see. They have extra security at the ballpark. The Cleveland is outraged. So, so Justin's saying they are season tickets. All right. So I'm corrected. So as a Mets fan, we never had that problem at Citi Field. It seems to be a Yankee Stadium always.
Ooh, shots fired.
Oh, shots fired. So there's a Subway Series for you.
There it is. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's just bad. We can't have that. Somebody's going to get hurt, and I'm just a player. Somebody could get hurt in the stands as well. We just don't need it. We just don't need it. I mean, yell, call the guy any respectable name you want, yell at him, call him a bad player or whatever. Go home and, gargle with salt because you lost your voice, but stop throwing stuff. Come on, man.
Yeah. Frank is saying he's heard that fans got robbed in the bleachers and security does nothing. I really want to point out, if we look back at the football season, it's certainly violence in the stands isn't limited to Yankee Stadium. I mean, we saw a rash of, and we see it all the time. Every week you see fans brawling with one another. It's really just horrible all around. So I don't know if, I know New York gets a bad rap. I don't know if you know this, Frank, but I am from New York. So you're calling us out, but I think it's prevalent, and of course I'm against any type of violence, and I really think one of the other things that really is problematic is how much alcohol is being served to these fans. You have fans that are inebriated, and that's part of the problem. When you're that drunk, it's just like any bar. People who are serving the beer to these fans should be being accountable for that as well.
Well, it's not the people who are serving. You don't mean the servers. You mean the owners of the stadium, because the folks who are there serving the beer.
I mean the servers. If you are in a bar and you are a bartender, and I bartended for many years, you have a responsibility to be able to detect when, and obviously if somebody has 1 or 2 beers, it's an entirely different story. But some of these people are inebriated beyond the point that they can even function normally. And I do think that there should be some accountability to people who are serving and selling alcohol, especially the guys who are walking around down carrying the beers through the stadium. It's different if you're up at the concession, but when you're walking around, you have some idea.
Well, no, I'm going to take your scenario. The reason why bartenders were given that ability to call it for a patron at the bar ordering beverages who looks toasted is because the owners got sued, insurance rates went up, so owners said, okay, we're going to cut people off. So if you take that scenario and apply it to ownership of a team, it starts with ownership. Ownership is going to have to say, hey, the people that are serving the beers, if you see someone who looks like they should not have another beer, cut them off. But then what's going to happen? You're going to need someone around that bar, i.e. bouncer or security, to make sure that those folks serving the beers aren't attacked or, abused verbally, because, if they're throwing beers, they're going to call that person who's not serving them a beer every name in the book, right? So
perhaps, but in New York State, it's not just about the owners. Bartenders are criminally held liable it's not just about insurance and liability. It's a criminal offense if you overserve somebody in New York State and they go out and, drive or get into an accident. So,
I'm with you. Joe, I'm with you. We're on the same page. All I'm saying is let's put that owner, that responsibility on the owners of the stadiums and the teams, so they in return can trickle down to their employees, so the employees don't feel like they're going to get in trouble for not serving someone a beer. So I'm just saying, it starts at the top. Every decision starts at the top.
In both MLB and NFL, the alcohol is stop served after the third quarter. In MLB, it is after the seventh inning.
Okay.
Of course, the problem is you get those who have already got, because when you get I have friends who do actually do the serving at the I'm calling it's the Brown Stadium. It's still the Brown Stadium. You get your stickered for every single time your beer is put into your cup.
Okay.
But you get a lot of those other fans who turn around and it's like they get other people's cups and everything, and next thing you know, it's the small little backdoor shell game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they have a specific cutoff point, and it's just, granted, NFL has really cracked down a lot harder than baseball has, but at least baseball has some sort of limitation, especially seventh inning level. And seventh inning, they figured the games should move along quick enough that the seventh inning should suffice, but sometimes those third, fourth, and fifth innings last a long time on a hot day.
Well, listen, you're talking to a guy that lives in the suburbs of Philadelphia, and in the old vet, they had a jail cell in the basement of the football stadium where they would literally take people to jail in the stadium. So listen, you have to change people's behavior, right? And you got to find ways to do it. You haven't heard, since we have that new stadium where the Eagles play, I'm sure there are some skirmishes, but you don't hear about them the way they used to be. These folks used to literally, in the 700 section, Joe, used to be fighting during the game in the nosebleed seats. They created a jail, literally, with a judge.
Yeah,
in the
who was a full-time judge. Yeah.
That's funny.
Philly's come a long way.
Yeah. So, and I think that Frank has it, is really pointing out much of the problem. Especially even if you're picking up something at the concession stand, the security guy was in the outfield and had a blue shirt on. He didn't do anything and didn't point anybody out. He did nothing. So that's really, and the Yankees are being responsive and they're beefing up their security, but in the stands in particular, that's really what they need. Only security is going to be able to, additional security is really only going to be able to handle that measure. Most of the people who are selling beer in the stands and hot dogs, they're usually young kids. So it's hard, it's a catch-22. It's difficult.
It's difficult. No, it's complicated. Absolutely. No doubt. Yep. Agreed.
All right. So I'm gonna pass it over to you guys, and I'm gonna do some knitting over here or something. Let's jump into that.
Actually, I was gonna ask you if you even caught the news, the NFL draft news about Evan Neal. Somebody had put that leaked fake news about he was medically removed from a few teams' draft boards and everything, and himself and his agent and his coach all came out and said it was fake, and that he was not a medical callback to the combine, and he is actually fine. And somebody turned around and said that they leaked that news. This is an old school ploy to turn around and try to get that player to fall down a little further,
Right.
you know,
right.
so that another team could turn around and pick him up at a much more reasonable rate for trading up in the draft.
Well,
No, I
But
didn't hear that.
nowadays, of course, you know, it's almost nearly impossible because everybody has instant access to all of those players' records. I just thought that was a pretty lowball ordeal that had to occur this morning, and it was major news all morning.
well, that's because the NFL draft starts tomorrow, Joe,
Mhm.
and it's I don't know what you think, George. You can tell me how you feel, but because there's no 3, 4, 5 outstanding quarterbacks, this draft is going to be about defense. Offensive linemen, defensive linemen, and defense, which means these GMs better get it right because you can seriously build a good team with this draft because there's not a lot of quarterbacks, right? So
Or running backs.
or running backs. So
Right.
this is going to be even though the hype is not as big as it would be normally, it's still a very important draft because you can end up drafting some players that can help you win now, right? So the shenanigans have already started.
Yeah.
The shenanigans have already started.
Yep.
right?
The poker game has started. And,
Yep.
you know, with, like you said, this is purely a lineman and also a very deep wide receiver draft.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the draft where, you know, most of those GMs who are always playing checkers are in a little bit of trouble because this draft, this is a chess match.
Yeah.
This isn't checkers. This
Because
is chess.
because there's not a lot of quarterbacks, so it's not a lot of hype. It's
Right.
really
There's
about
no hype.
these GMs are earning their pay
Hey,
because they've got to figure out who they're going to pick in the first round, second round, and third round.
and make
it
sure
is-
you get the protection that
Yep.
you need for your quarterback.
Yep.
I think Jacksonville goes with a tackle. Personally,
They got to protect their quarterback.
Yep.
Right? If you don't protect your quarterback, your number one draft pick, you can't win. So we need, right? You got to draft and then you got to go out into the free agency if you have to. But we need to protect our quarterback so we can win some games because we know the kid can throw it. We know he can run it. We know he's a player. We need to protect that kid. Right? So it's going to be a very, very, and yes, Justin is right. Defense wins championships. The offense will get you to the game, but defense will win. So this is, I'm telling you, this draft, I'm going to watch it. I didn't even watch last year's draft, all of it. I'm going to try my best to watch all of it this year because it's going to be, it's very important this year.
Yeah, we were chatting about it a little bit earlier on this week, and it really is. The top 3-4 picks are just a big turntable. And with both the Giants having a couple picks, the Jets having a couple picks, the whole weirdness with the Saints and the Eagles making some positioning.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. Yeah, it's pretty weird.
It is a little odd, but
Yep.
there are 7 teams that do not have a first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
And we said on Monday that, you know, be kind of weird, but we have a funny feeling that one of those teams might try to get back in eventually.
Yes.
You know, I mean, with the Packers having 2 picks, the Chiefs having 2 picks, even though that's later in the round, but still,
You don't want to go through this draft without having a first round pick or a first and a second, or maybe no first and just 1 second. Are you kidding me? No.
Yeah,
This is a very important draft. And Joe, you remember the player we talked about during the college football playoffs, the big defensive lineman, 300 and so pounds, who can run sideline to sideline.
Yeah, I do.
Wouldn't you like to draft that guy?
I would.
Right? So
I hope he's going to the Buccaneers. I'll say that.
right? So there's a lot of defensive players because there is at least 2 or 3 very good defensive college teams that had upperclassmen. I'm telling you, this draft is going to be full of defensive players.
Andy saying his name is Jordan Davis.
Jordan Davis,
Yeah.
that dude is as I said to my dad when we were watching them play, that kid right there is about to buy mama a new house.
Frank is saying Whitey Herzog said once, love the defense, but never can have enough offense. So
That's true. That's true. But we all know, we've seen this movie before. Defense wins championships, baby. Let's not try to reinvent the wheel. Tom Brady is awesome. He's great, but he can score as many touchdowns and throw as many touchdowns as possible. If his defense doesn't stop the other team, he's not winning. So let's keep it real. Let's be fair. Defense is all about the defense.
The funny thing was, somebody said there's a prop bet for tomorrow night that the over-under is 6 on how many Georgia players actually get drafted in the first round.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. Wouldn't doubt it.
That defense is getting that, and they interviewed a lot of Georgia players at the pre-draft thing today, and I said, wow, that whole defense could almost go in that first round.
Hey, George, listen. ESPN has been in the sports business for a long time, haven't they?
Mm-hmm.
They've seen defenses. ESPN didn't interview one player from the defense this year. They interviewed pretty much the entire defense in one segment because they know that defense was awesome. Mm-hmm. So they knew they had talent. They knew what they were watching, and they said, hey, let's interview the entire defense, starting defense, not just one player.
Yep.
Right? So that's how you can determine, Joe. Those are little inside stories. The media has been doing this for a long time. They know good talent when they see it. So if they're going to spend their time interviewing an entire defense, that means something. And they did. So, yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. 6, 7 guys, easily. And that big fella being one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But somebody that big to run that fast?
George, I'm going to try to get him on my fantasy football team this year. So I'm going to write that name down.
Don't try to steal it from her, George. Be nice.
So let's jump into the USFL. So I did try to watch a little bit of it this weekend. I'm not familiar enough to weigh in, so I'm going to listen to you guys. But how'd the weekend go? What did you think about the teams and what's well, Frank is saying for the second time, I do want to acknowledge him again. Jets. We did.
Oh, I know. I heard you the first time.
Yep.
Frank. We saw it the first time. I feel you. I feel you a little bit, Frank. I used to live in Hempstead, Long Island, which was around the corner, so to speak, from Hofstra, where the Jets used to practice. Listen, I feel you. I understand. One of my high school coaches, Derek Gaffney, was the wide receiver for the Jets. I got a little bit of history with the Jets. I feel you, brother. I feel you. Listen, I watched the USFL game as I said I would. And what's great, Joe, is that it's not a lot of teams, so you really don't have to study as much as you think. You know, NFL's got 32 teams.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
USFL's got 8, so it's not a lot of studying, right? But right now you got 2 teams at 2-0, 4 teams at 1-1, and 2 teams at the bottom. And believe it or not, those 2 teams at the bottom might be out, but they may not be out. They have a shot because, right, it's not a lot of teams. They can just, if they get on a winning streak, they can get themselves in a position to try to make the playoffs. So, Frank, you just lost a few. You just lost a few feathers, brother. If you love football, you love football.
I think he's missing the word kickers in between those 2 words.
Yeah.
You
He's
got
missing the word kickers, right?
I think you forgot kickers because the
go ahead.
NFL's not watching these guys for the kickers.
Yeah,
that is for sure.
Yeah.
After watching these guys again, and I was just like, wow, and even a few that we thought might, improve because, hey, if you miss a 22-yarder, I got a kid who can make a 25-yarder, and he's only 11. So Yeah.
And by the way, he's got a gun on him. Was that him throwing the kid out? The video you sent me?
Oh no, that was the video I sent you. He was up to bat. With
Oh,
the
okay,
crowd.
gotcha.
No, but he does have a cannon. He pitched the other day. He did a nice job.
He looks like he's got a
did
cannon.
great.
In terms of the kickers, here's what the media and the USFL put out there. First week, the kickers were horrible, and they say the reason they were horrible is because they didn't allow the kickers to doctor the footballs the way the NFL allows their quarterbacks and kickers to doctor up the ball, meaning the ball wasn't, they scrape
Right. They scrub, we'll call it scrubbing.
They
Yep.
scrub the footballs to get the slickness off.
Right.
So once they allowed them to do that, they did a better job. They were still terrible, but they weren't as terrible as the first week. So I will say that. I give them a little credit. They kicked a little better than they did the first weekend, but they're bad. And only one punter and one kicker out of all 8 teams, I think is good enough to get an opportunity to play in the NFL. Unless the other ones show me something the rest of the season, I only see 2 guys that are good enough to go pro. So, I mean, to the NFL. They are pros, but to go to the NFL. But go ahead.
So Frank has a question. Why aren't the New Jersey Generals playing at Giant Stadium? They're playing in a make-believe stadium. He's saying that he doesn't believe anybody has a home stadium. Where do they play?
All the teams play in Birmingham, Alabama, and they did that for a reason. Why? Well, and I'm assuming they're doing this for the reason. I didn't read this or confirm this, but we're still, as of the beginning of their season, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, we were still in a COVID situation. So they basically created a bubble. All the teams are going to play in one stadium. They're all staying in one hotel without visitors, without anyone outside of that industry, the USFL industry. So they can contain COVID, right? Remember how they did it with the bubble for basketball, right?
And hockey. Yep.
And hockey. So
Yep.
that's what I'm assuming that's what they did. And it makes sense.
It was.
Right?
And it was because they established this. Remember, the league got established 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So when they put this together 2 years ago, we were right smack dab in COVID situation.
Yep.
So
Yep.
they had to figure out where exactly they could do it and the ease of doing it.
And the best stadium to have everyone in one central location is the best stadium that they could probably find, where they could also have all of the players stay in one hotel.
Mhm.
And no one outside of the USFL is staying in that hotel. All of their rooms are booked for those teams and their players, right? So I guess it was either going to be, first of all, it had to be a Southern team because of the weather. So you got Tampa or Bama, right? Or New Orleans. So I guess the best deal or the way it worked out was Alabama, Birmingham. So they're all in Birmingham. They're all playing in one stadium. They're all playing on a field that's a turf field. Imagine if the field was grass and they played game after game on that one field, back to back.
That'd be worn out.
It'd be worn out. So they had to come up with the best location for all of those scenarios. So they're on a turf field that doesn't have to be replaced. They don't have to fix. They're in one hotel and in one central location.
Well, I'm reading about it now, and one of the biggest reasons that they're saying is because the approach eliminates all travel costs, and that's an important consideration. They're saying that's an important consideration, being that the games want to be on televised. So it's really a cost-saving measure.
Savings. They're all in one stadium. They don't have to fly teams from one place to the next and deal with all that chaos. They're all in one controlled environment, right? And they're saving money by doing it. So, And remember, the USFL is partially owned by who? Fox.
Yep.
So, hey, they can control the environment. It's really not about how many people buy tickets to walk in the stadium. It's about how many advertisers advertising during those games. That's where they're making their money. Eventually, the people will come when they see a good product, right? That's why they're experimenting with the playing times. They were able to kick one game from a Sunday to a Monday because they could. They wanted to see, right? Why risk the players playing in bad weather, maybe lightning? Let's throw that to Monday night and see what kind of ratings we get and see, So again, it's only 8 teams. I like it. I'm fine with it.
Well,
And I'm
they're
looking
saying
forward to the
I'm sorry.
championship game. The championship game is right in my backyard over here. I'm
In Ohio, right?
definitely going.
Right? It's
An hour away. Yep.
It's at the where they play the Hall of Fame game.
Correct. And wow, has that gotten a nice facelift?
Oh, see?
Oh,
See?
it is a beautiful new facility, and the Hall of Fame expansion for the 4th phase is already underway. So it is when the next time I have to go down towards Canton for work, I will take several new pictures for you.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
impressive.
you.
It's
Yes,
very
I'd like to see that.
So Frank is saying it's make believe football.
Oh,
Frank, it's all right, brother. It's all right. We understand. You're just shooting jabs at us. Have an adult beverage and enjoy your night.
and I think the Breakers just scored again. that team, that New Orleans team, is impressive. The scoring was just ridiculous. I mean, every time we're just watching, and it's slaughter to Davis, or slaughter to Ellis, slaughter to Logan. He was just on fire.
They're a good team, and you know that they're playing Birmingham this weekend.
This week.
So the first two undefeated teams will be playing each other. You don't have to wait until the end of the season. They're actually playing each other this weekend to see who's the best team in the league. That's what's great. I'm telling you this.
And that'll be a packed house game too.
Absolutely, because the people in Birmingham are buying into it. They really are buying into it because, number one, they're in God's country, right? They're in the South, and football is a second religion. So
right.
they're buying into it. They're having fun. The kids love it. The players are, in other words, the league isn't so big like the NFL, where some of the guys are a little leery about signing autographs and being nice to the kids. It's a new league. You want to do everything you can to build a fan base. So the kids are having a blast getting autographs and their towels signed. I mean, imagine these kids, man, they're going home with jerseys and not taking a shower and sleeping in these jerseys that these guys are giving them. So it's a win-win situation.
But not only that, I think, Frank is, saying he'd only pay $1.50 to see them, but I think the tickets are only $10, so they're also making it very economical for families to go. Where in the NFL, it's so cost prohibitive. So these kids who probably sometimes their parents couldn't get them out to an NFL game. They're making it reasonable for those young fans. So I do love that part of it.
Joe, you're absolutely hitting the nail on the head. There's no professional football league in the state of Alabama. There's Alabama, Crimson Tide, right?
Right.
Yep.
And there's Auburn, right? So you're talking about a fan base that doesn't even have a pro football team in their state. So this is new for them. This is good. And a $10 ticket, oh my God, you can bring all the kids. They can run around, they can play. There are all kinds of games. I mean, it's good. It's a win-win. Yeah.
It's difficult to do anything for $10 today.
You kidding me?
So,
you can't even take a family bowling and spend $10. Are you kidding me? Per person.
Yes.
Right, George? Right, George?
Yes, this is very true.
I set you up for a layup. Come on now.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. At 25, 50 an hour. Yeah.
There you go. I'm telling you. So no.
For one lane.
There you go. So no, I'm looking forward to that game. What game? What any other games that you're looking forward to this weekend?
Oh, of course. Was it the Bandits and the Gamblers? I think wasn't it the?
I like Houston for a number of reasons. I think Houston's got a good team. They've got a really good defense, and I'm a little biased because again, my high school teammate Reggie Northup, his son, is the middle linebacker, number 5 for Houston. But I like that team. So
I think that's going to be a really good game. They've even only got the spread 1 point right now, and that's going to be a very, very close, good game.
yeah,
Like you said, we've got the 2 undefeateds, but we also have the 2 not defeated, or 2 defeateds, I should say.
Michigan,
Michigan and Pittsburgh.
yeah.
That's kind of the
That's going to be ugly.
rough.
Yeah.
It's going to be the rough one to watch.
Well, Philly beat Pitt in what we call our Keystone Bowl because we're the Keystone State, right? So we beat them this past weekend. So we're 1-1, thank goodness. So Pittsburgh is they got to find a way to win, or they're going to be 0-3.
And the funny thing about Michigan lost on the last plays of their games.
Mm-hmm.
Both games, and if they would have gotten the score, they would have won both of those games. So that's why, just because they're 0-2 doesn't mean that they can't flip that right around, and they couldn't be also 2-0. So,
But that's what I said in the beginning.
Yep.
Those 2 0-2 teams, if they go on a run, because it's not a big league, meaning a lot of teams, you win 2 or 3 in a row, you're pretty close to having a chance to make the playoffs. And the way the playoffs works, Joe, is 2 teams per conference makes it to the playoffs, and then you have your championship game. So there's a shot here, right? There's a real shot. So it keeps it interesting, right? And I like the fact, what do you think, George? Maybe next year they bring in 2 more teams and make it an even 10?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, and especially because they'll also have the XFL literally following behind them once they're done. I mean, you're going to be on football overload. Hey, look, Frank. See, yep, that's like I said, the XFL they will actually be starting, of course, after the draft is over,
right?
Because the XFL has a minor partnership with the NFL to kind of be as a, how did I put it, an NFL Europe kind of system where some of the guys who are drafted may be selected into the XFL during the quote unquote off season. They're both feeder leagues, right? They're both feeder leagues for the NFL. The NFL is major leagues, and then you're going to have your single A, double A, triple A kind of thing. And where else on this planet where you will be able to watch football 12 months out of the year? I am happy. Brings a tear to my eye.
So, hey, listen.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. I'm a happy man. I can't wait for it.
Oh, and my friend Dave would be hurt if I didn't even mention the FCF, because the fun football league, he calls it, of course. So we've got football everywhere.
Oh, and it's about time, because it's real. And again, it is. Let's not fight it. Let's not be jealous. Football is the number 1 sport in this country and on the planet, because only one other country plays it, and that's Canada, and they have a little bit different rules. But
hey, I'm a big Toronto Argonauts fan. I mean, when Doug Flutie was up there and pinball, I love watching them.
Again, I don't have a problem with Canada. It's just, why should American players had to go to Canada in order to continue to develop before they came back, right, to the NFL, right? Warren Moon is the perfect example. If you combine his numbers in Canada with the NFL, he would be one of the top quarterbacks ever to throw the football, right?
Absolutely.
But he had to go to Canada because they weren't allowing African American quarterbacks to be a quarterback in the NFL. So he had to wait his turn.
And baseball literally will take a big back seat to this because of it too. I think right now, when the USFL is getting better ratings than some baseball games, heads up, warning.
The numbers don't lie,
Mm-hmm.
right? The numbers don't lie. Follow the numbers. So anyway, so good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're at the top of the hour, but we have to, Justin has thrown this comment out, and he wants you to ask you a question, Bodine. What are your thoughts on Terrell Owens playing with Johnny Manziel?
I think they're playing in some arena football.
That's the FCF they're playing in.
Yeah.
He's only played 2 plays.
Yeah, and one of them he got a touchdown, or did he
Yep.
catch 2 touchdowns? One of them, that was last week. Listen, it's entertainment. Terrell wants to be relevant. Hey, the guy wants to show people he's an athlete because he's in great shape. Is he good enough to play in the NFL? No. Could he run one pattern and catch a pass? Sure. But could he consistently play in NFL? No. So, but again, I'm not going to begrudge anyone an opportunity to show their skill, but it is what it is. He's just trying to be relevant. That's all. He sees himself as an entertainer. So he will, didn't he do like Dancing with the Stars or, I mean,
He did, and he had his own.
A lot of NFL people did do Dancing with the Stars.
Well, I'm just saying, he considers himself an entertainer, so he will do anything to stay in the light. So
He had his own reality show on, I don't know, one of the stations for a while. Like, he'd go out. I forgot. Like, the premise was his dating life and who he was dating and what was happening. Because I used to watch that. So he's been on TV for a while.
Again, I'm not going to begrudge him, but
Nope.
it is what it is.
So. All right. Well, the reports say, Manziel said that he looks exactly the same as he did 15 years ago. So that's an interesting perspective.
He's
We'll
all
see.
about staying in shape, no doubt about
Yeah.
that. You can't knock him. He stays in shape, but there's a difference between running a pass pattern in that league and running a pass pattern in the NFL and someone jacking you up. So, a huge difference.
Justin said his dating life was the best. Yeah, that was an interesting show for sure.
Sorry, I didn't watch it. Just like I've never watched a Kardashian. Is that how do you call it?
Kardashian.
I've never watched that show either, so I'm not sure.
But T.O. was a football player. There's an entirely different thing between T.O. and the Kardashian. You might have to catch the reruns. All right. Well, we're at the top of the hour. I want to thank George for tuning in, and of course Crispy Bacon behind the scenes. Any closing thoughts, George and our Bodine, before we head off?
Thanks for having me once again. Like I said, the USFL, it is getting to more people should tune into it because as even these next couple of weeks go on, the football is getting a lot better and there's a lot of good plays. Plus, Bo, I think they listened to us last week. Not so much on the helmet cam. A lot better. They wiped off the cameras from the drones, and we got some really good drone shots this past week. So I think they heard us.
Yeah,
I think they heard us.
No, and if we made that comment, imagine how many people reached out to the USFL and made that comment in an email or in a survey, right? And so, they're getting better. And again, my expectations aren't so high where I get disappointed. I just want to see some football. And I'm seeing some good football. There's some good players who are going to get an opportunity to step up in the NFL, sign a free agent contract, get into camp, and see where it goes. So I'm happy with it.
Me too.
Sure.
So I want to wish my daughter a happy birthday. She's turned 22 today. I know she's not watching, but you never know. She might want to check out our show on the YouTube.
Well, happy birthday to her. What's your daughter's first name?
Nina
Nina,
E.
all right.
Nina
All right.
E.
Happy birthday, Mina, from the Bo and Joe Show. And of course, I forgot I have to thank all of our viewers. I usually do that. I'm slipping. So, of course, I want to thank Andy for tuning in, San, Tim Fielder, thanks so much for coming on. Justin, of course, our main squeeze. Who else? Mr. Sanders, Frank, you kept us on our toes tonight. We appreciate that. We appreciate
tell
that.
Frank, come on back, Frank. We loved your comments about football, brother. We got tough skin around here. Come on back.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And I'll even let the New York stuff go by, Frank. So come on back. So thanks everybody, and of course thank you, Chris, behind the scenes, and George, and you can play us out. We'll see you next week.